Now, we've taken a look at subdivision surfaces and automatic smoothing of models, but you also can purposely smooth models as well. In other words, you can bake in the smoothing to a model and just add more detail. So let's go ahead and do that with our coffee cup. As you can see, we've got some detail around the top, but we really maybe need some more detail around the handle and so on. But if I were to say, for example, hit 3, you could see that, well, this coffee cup smooths pretty well for a subdivision surface. But let's say I wanted to use it in a context where I don't want to subdivide it. So we can actually smooth the object and actually force the smoothing and add more detail. We can do that under the Mesh menu. We have an option here called Smooth. So if I select the parameters for that, this will tell me how many division levels to use, as well as what type of smoothing to use. Now, typically, I want to just keep this at 1, maybe 2. As you get further up, you're going to geometrically multiply the number of polygons that you have. And much above 3 or 4, you're going to really start to get very, very dense models. So keep these subdivision levels low. You can always add more smoothness if you want. And then we also have additional options here as to whether or not you want sharp edges and corners, interpolation, and so on. And I'm just going to leave it pretty much as default and just hit smooth. Now what it's going to do is it's going to divide each polygon into 4 and smooth it. So as you can see, I have a much smoother model with a little bit more detail. And now I've got maybe something with which to continue to model with. So let's say I wanted to further refine this handle. Now I've got additional detail with which to do that. So I could, for example, select an edge loop here and maybe scale that up or down, and maybe use soft select to get a very nice smooth deformation. Now, if you want, you can also add smoothness locally. So I can go through on a face-by-face basis and add additional detail. So if I wanted to, I could select faces. So for example, these faces here, let's say I wanted to select that group of faces, and I want to select that ring of faces, I could actually go mesh smooth and smooth just those. Okay, so I can add detail to those. Now, this is probably not something that you'll want to do normally, particularly if you are going to eventually do subdivision surfaces, because these 5-sided polygons can add problems. Now, another way to add detail is to do it without smoothing. So I'm going to go ahead and select this middle part of my coffee cup, and I can add additional detail by going Edit Mesh, Face, Add Divisions. And what that will do is it will just subdivide the faces, but it will not calculate smoothness. So this will just add additional detail to my mesh. Now this could be useful if you want to add detail, but again, once you start getting into things such as 5-sided polygons, you may have problems with subdivision surfaces later. So these are some ways to actually smooth and further refine your models without using automatic smoothing and subdivision surfaces.